Once again, rumor has it Henry Cavill is jumping ship to the MCU. Yeah, another one. And at this point, why not? Where else is he gonna go? Well, he's got the Warhammer thing. But anyway, once again, here we are at Cosmic Book News. Henry Cavill rumored to have signed with Marvel. Oh my goodness. Is it already inked and everything? And maybe this has already been debunked by the time I've made this video and put it out. But what the hell? So this has been going around for quite some time. Captain Britain was one that was rumored. Wolverine was rumored at one point. Which it was kind of interesting, I guess. He's still too tall for the role. They've had these Hugh Jackman's too. Of course, Hugh Jackman pretty much made the role and everything. Be a hard one to follow. But of course, in the comics, Wolverine is quite the short guy. You know? So now, what's interesting is this. The latest is that he might have signed on to be Doctor Doom, which I guess you show the early signs before his face gets scarred, and then he has to wear the mask all the time. Or maybe he's taking it off all the time, and the scars just aren't that big of a deal. Because these superhero movies, they always want their masks off. So at least with Superman, he didn't have a mask, you know. But anyway, that's the deal. So these scoopers online were commenting on this. And so, there's already been an update. Henry Cavill and Captain Britain are trending. However, My Time to Shine seems to be hinting that Cavill is not playing Captain Britain, which is too bad because then he could use his own voice, you know, because, you know, he's British. But another Marvel character. So somebody said, from the greatest superhero, Superman, to our greatest Marvel villain, Doctor Doom, Henry Cavill. Nah, this would be the most insane casting announcement probably of all time. Hashtag the Fantastic Four. My Time to Shine, hello, says he was offered something else, and he accepted. So this sounds like a response to the cat of Doctor Doom, and that he was offered another role, and it's not Doctor Doom. So, King Sao, you lying, mate. My Time says you will find that I'm not sooner than you think. Oh, yeah. Then he says, actually, my bad. Some of you guessed it right. He was offered something else, and he accepted. So Doctor Doom, then, is that what we're to take from this? Or and then he's got a crying emoji. Captain Britain was trending. So it's either Captain Britain or Doctor Doom, or none of the above. He hasn't signed with them at all. But it's interesting about him being involved in the Fantastic Four movie, because the Fantastic Four movie opens, I think, within a week or 2 weeks of Superman Legacy. That's pretty funny. See, that's the kind of suit you probably figured they'd put him in for Captain Britain, you know. So here we go. The recap. Back in 2019, when it wasn't certain if Black Adam movie was going to happen, both Henry Cavill and Dwayne Johnson were rumored for the MCU. That's right. Back then, Cavill was also managed by his former wife, right? They've since parted ways after the debacle of the Superman and all that stuff. That was, man, what a mess that was. And it's always going to sting, you know. Could they have at least done one more Superman movie with him, you know? But no. Anyway, the rumor said that Henry Cavill's being eyed to play U.S. agent. Well, that's not true. Kurt Russell's son's doing that, and has, with Dwayne Johnson wanting to play Namor. Yeah, that could have been cool. Obviously, we know, which is odd because Black Adam and Namor kind of look alike in the comics because they both have pointed ears, you know. Anyway, obviously, we know that didn't happen. Is Wyatt Russell, right? Wyatt Russell is U.S. agent, and is it Tanoke or Tanoke Peretta played Namor? But who knows? Maybe it is because both Cavill and Johnson went on to do Black Adam. If they had gotten the other two, I guess They really wanted to exploit Huerta's race for this role and change the whole story of Namor. And they probably would have done it anyway because they didn't want to mention Atlantis and all that because Aquaman had already come out, even though Namor had that story first. Aquaman was not originally from Atlantis. But anyway. So now both of them are done with DC. Rumors surface that Henry Cavill's in the MCU. Here's some artists did for him as Wolverine. Additional rumors, yeah, he would play Spider UK. Now, God, I hope that's not the case. Because what if they're doing a thing where this Fantastic Four are indeed from another alternate timeline or a multiverse world because they're going into this multiverse story and they end up in the MCU when it's all said and done, and that's how they're going to do it. And they have, British Spider-Man in the multiverse thing. Captain Britain would be much better. And I mean, him being a British Spider-Man, I never did read the Spider-Verse stuff, so I don't know how Spider UK was depicted or whatnot. But to go from Superman to something like Captain Britain, it works because Captain Britain was always, a big bulk guy and all that type of stuff. You could do that. Or, Doctor Doom, if he, wants to go the villain route. And with Doctor Doom, that would be a more significant character. Because he's the main villain of the Fantastic Four. And with them heading into Secret Wars, depending on how they tailor that, and if they utilize a lot of the elements from the original Secret Wars narrative, that's quite the role character to play. And that might have been an offer for someone like Cavill that's too good to pass up after being so badly treated by Warner Brothers. But also the cherry on top of being in a movie that competes with the new Superman. Nothing against David Cornsweet, I'm sure, but certainly against Warner Brothers. So Captain Britain, yes. And then Hyperion was another one. And this was a rumor about that he was going to show up in Loki season 2 because of all the multiverse shenanigans that was supposed to happen in it. It didn't. That was just nonsense. Maybe it was a concept they were looking at, but they went in the direction they did, which obviously was much cheaper to do. But Hyperion is basically Superman, a Marvel Universe take on the character. Still from an alternate universe. It's a long-winded story from the Squadron Supreme. And it would have been funny if they'd have gotten him, Gal Gadot, and Ben Affleck to play the other two parts. They all three jump ship. But it would have been a one-and-done thing, I think, as kind of a gag in Loki or whatnot. So, it says if Superman is jumping to the MCU, more likely Captain Britain or Doctor Doom, if any, at all, might be the characters that he would play. Is this supposed to be another version of Venom for The Rock to play? Yeah. Well, I'm guessing The Rock is certainly available, so he may show up there as well. And if they do a massive reboot, maybe he'll be the new Namor. I doubt it. I think Namor's another one that they don't have complete control over and that kind of thing. So he may not even ever show up in Fantastic Four. I don't know. That might have been all we see of him. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Perhaps, and would make some amount of sense. And to get some interesting buzz for the MCU rather than all the terrible news other than Deadpool. It's the only thing they got going for them at the moment. And but just announcing him would, it might have some exciting buzz for a couple of days. And then did you do a good movie? Because odds are they can't do one. But anyway, it's interesting. It keeps happening. But the reason I keep going back to Doctor Doom is that would be a much more significant role. And it would be more, I would think, intriguing for him to do than to do Captain Britain, even though Captain Britain is kind of the more obvious character for him. But Captain Britain is a bit more of a B-less, C-less character. That's just the way it is, and had more involvement with the X-Men and stuff like that. But Doctor Doom is a much, much bigger character. And if they offered him that, I would find it very credible that he would take it. But again, this is probably just another wild goose chase. Has been the case for quite some time. In the meanwhile, keep an eye on his Warhammer project and that sort of stuff. And Highlander. Anyway, there you go.